Welcome back! So, this week is all about grafting and why we're grafting our fruit trees to build our orchard here at Blahadatni.
Grafting sometimes is misunderstood, and especially in permaculture communities, while it's sometimes embraced quite a bit, we see that some people look down at grafting or consider it a negative practice. I think it's because of the association with industrial agriculture. The only reason industrial ag is able to, for example, grow thousands of acres of the exact same cultivar in a monocrop situation is because they're able to clone different different trees or cultivars, usually using grafting. And so it's been really abused in that industry, and so maybe that contributed to its negative image. But grafting actually a very ancient technique, and it's a very powerful way for us to interact with nature. So we're going to try to dig into that a little bit more today.
People may think that thousands of years ago, fruit was readily available in the forest. So you can just take a walk and, grab an apple, grab a pear, this and that, and have a snack. But in reality, that was not the case. So there's a reason that early agriculture started with grains, because they were a lot easier to propagate, right?
Yeah, and people were able to select grains very easily because they were self-pollinated. So humans will plant the grains or carry the grains that they liked, and then so automatically grow the best ones over and over until they get better results. But with fruit, they couldn't do that because most fruit variety are not true to seed. So if they liked something, if they planted, they got something else. So they didn't. It wasn't as much integrated into their agricultural activities. And then it wasn't until several thousand years after human kind of settled from their nomadic lifestyle and started building villages and living in sort of semi-permanent places that they started cloning varieties, woody plants with cuttings. So because the cuttings, so they would have discovered that easily, right? So if you stick a cutting into the ground, it starts to root. So for things like figs, pomegranate, and olives, those plants, they were able to propagate them with cuttings. So if they like something, they would grab a cutting, stick it in the ground, they get more of that. So then they started cultivating those plants.
Fruit trees like apples, pears, peaches, and plums were only domesticated after the discovery of the grafting technique. And contrary to popular belief, grafting actually does occur naturally in nature. So an example is if, say, a tree breaks, a fruit tree breaks and lands on a compatible tree, and the branches are there and they start to, over time, grow together. And if the parent tree of a branch dies, the branch will continue growing as if it were as its old fruit, So it does happen naturally. Not very, very common, but it happens. So it's very possible that people had observed that and thought, oh wow, okay, well let's continue this. So
the origin of grafting techniques is very unclear. There's a lot of different theories. People have a lot of different theories about what part of Asia it started in. But somewhere in Asia, people started developing these techniques, probably by observing nature. Or another theory is that when they were building shelters using live branches, they were tying branches together, and on the places where they're tying them, the live branches start to join because they were able to also root. So they will observe that, some of these tents that they're building, they're starting to connect with each other and become one. So they might have started experimenting with actually manually joining plants.
There are many benefits to grafting. For example, it's really cool how you can gain time by grafting. So, for example, you could take a material off an older tree, a more mature tree like this one, and then graft it onto a younger rootstock, and you'll get fruit much faster because the material that you took from the parent tree still thinks it's that age. So if you take a bud and put it on a young rootstock that isn't close to flowering, it'll flower and grow as if it's the mature tree. So that's pretty cool. I mean,
it's pretty amazing. Sometimes you see after grafting in the same year, several months later, there's a flower, and then there's even the branch may actually set fruit. And I remember my dad always looked for that, and in the first year he usually just picked the flowers as soon as they appear on the graft, because he didn't want to risk damaging the graft, because the branch was so young and might even break if it set fruit. So it's usually better to wait for that grafted branch to grow into to develop more and become stronger before it actually sets fruit.
We are so lucky here at Blahadatne that we have all these beautiful native trees like chokecherry and the wild pears that make beautiful natural rootstock. So they're already drought resistant, they're disease tolerant, they're ready to go, adapted to this climate. So we're so lucky to have that available to us, and we'll be utilizing those as much as possible for sure.
Yeah, actually this week I visited our friends Louise and Jed from Elderberry Grove in Salmon Arm, and amazing farmers. If you need any elderberries, you definitely should give them a shout. They're amazing producers, but they also have been experimenting with a lot of different fruit trees, growing different fruit trees and grafting techniques. And Jed showed me one of the chokecherries that he grafted. So the Cyan actually grows faster than the...
Yeah, the plum is way more vigorous than the chokecherry.
Interesting. But
Mind you, if only I grafted it down here, eh? It's a whip and tongue, yeah.
Whip and tongue. And you got chokecherries, and you got, was that Italian plum?
Loads of, yeah, it's an Italian prune plum.
Beautiful. It was already full of fruit, which was amazing. So chokecherry is not a common rootstock. People don't really think of it as a rootstock because it grows really shrubby. But the advantage of it is that it's so abundant here. So it's so exciting. We have so much of it here. So we're going to try experimenting with grafting some plum on it and see what happens.
That's exciting, yeah. Another fruit tree that we were grafting this week is an old fruit tree that grows on the property my Baba and Dada used to live on. It's over 100 years old, this pear tree, and still growing beautifully, still just a happy, healthy pear tree. And the pears on it are big and tasty, and they never had too many issues with pests and stuff like that. So we were lucky enough, we talked to the owners, and they were gracious enough to let us take a few clippings, and and we were grafting those onto the wild pear trees that grow everywhere here. So I am particularly excited about that because, again, it's a part of history, right? Part of family, and it's carried on this way. So my mom has memories of it, and my aunt. So it's really cool that that we can keep it going. Yeah.
We labeled it as Baba's pear.
Yeah.
It's gonna be offered in our nursery once we propagate enough of it.
Exactly.
But amazing, disease resistant and large and really
tasty.
Heavy producing tree.
Yeah.
And this week I also went and visited Mike and Sandra, our friends in Kamloops, also to get some cuttings from them. Mike is really crazy about grafting different cultivars. He's been experimenting growing fruit trees in their small backyard, but he's really passionate about it, and he's got amazing cultivars there. But what was really neat was that he actually developed his own peacherine. So by grafting on the same tree, one branch he grafted peach, and then on another branch he grafted a nectarine, and then the two cross-pollinated. Then he took one of the fruit and planted it, and then waited. He was going to use that as rootstock, but he waited, and then the tree actually produced fruit. They tasted the fruit and they really liked it. It's a nice large fruit like peach, but it's not as fuzzy. It's got a nice firm flesh. So they were describing the taste. It sounds amazing. And so he was generous enough. He allowed me to get some cuttings from that, and we are grafting that here on some of the plums and other stone fruits that we can find, and make some copies of that, and hopefully we'll be able to offer that as well eventually in our nursery.
Very excited about that one.
It's gonna be called Mike's Peacherine. We're so excited. Telling me this grew from a cross-pollinated seed between a peach and a nectarine.
Yeah.
Oh. Did you name it?
Peacherine.
Peacherine. So this is the mother tree. There's a nectarine on one side and there's peaches on the other side.
Yeah.
And they cross-pollinate.
That one is a completely different tree. The branches that was right there.
Oh, I see.
It was together.
They were together, but that one's dead now.
Yeah.
But you got some peaches out of it. But yeah, that's one of the advantages, because he was able to put them so close. He got them to cross-pollinate, and then, but it take years. It's just amazing that the patience and the persistence that he put into it to now have a huge peacherine tree in his yard. It's like the only one because he developed it.
So if any of you amazing people out there are in the West Kootenay area and you have a fruit tree that you think really deserves to be propagated and you know, kept safe, give us a shout, and we would love to come grab some cuttings and propagate that and share it with you when we get it going. So that would be awesome.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching another one of our videos. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, or hit that bell button so if you actually want to see our next video. And yeah, stay in touch,
Yes.
and we will see you next time. Bye.
So, if we touch the pedio and it falls really easy, then that means that graft actually took. Again, 2 weeks after the grafting, and here's the pedio. I'm just gonna give it a quick bump, and it just falls off. So that's a good graft.
It's so good.
It's a good mulber, and they're big.
It is really nice.